Good Erev Shabbos. This week, Parsha of Chukas contains the very well-known story of why Moshe could not enter the land of Israel. The conventional understanding is that Hashem told Moshe to speak to the rock and water would come out of it, and he hit the rock. And because he hit the rock and did not speak to the rock, therefore he was punished. The truth of the matter is the story is a lot more complex than that, and that's because even if he hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock, that should have still been a great miracle. So there are in fact at least 10 different explanations from the Fisch and the commentaries of what exactly the sin of Moshe was. In fact, the Torah itself does not specifically, explicitly state what the sin of Moshe was. It says, Yan lo hamantim bi, Hashem tells Moshe and Aaron, you do not believe in me, lahaktisheni le'eni b'nei Israel, to make a kiddush Hashem, so to speak. But what was the lack of the kiddush Hashem? There's at least 10 different approaches in the commentaries. I want to quote to you the position of the Rambam, the Maimonides. The Rambam, the Maimonides, has an unusual perspective on this, and he says the fact that Moshe was disrespectful to the Jewish people. The reason why Moshe was disrespectful to the Jewish people is because we find that he addressed the Jewish people as morim. Shimu na hamorim, listen here, O rebels. And the Rambam says that was a difficult way or a disrespectful way to address the Jewish people. You don't call them rebels, even if they're not necessarily behaving in their best way possible, putting their best foot forward. They should not be addressed as morim, as rebels. And the question we have to ask ourselves is that, sometimes people deserve, constructive criticism. Sometimes people need to be called out for what they're doing is wrong, their behaviors are wrong. And in fact, we find that with Moshe in the Torah itself. Many times the Moshe criticized the Jewish people throughout the years in the desert. So why over here is he held accountable for calling the Jewish people as morim? And there's this powerful idea, and this really not only explains Moshe and his relations with the Jewish people at that time, but also gives us a wider view into appropriate ways for delivering constructive criticism. The way to deliver constructive criticism is to address the behavior of the person and not label the person themselves. So, for example, it's important to say, your actions, what you did is inappropriate. You should never label the individual as you're a bad person. That's not appropriate. And throughout the desert, the Jewish people's journey in the desert, Moshe, when he criticized them, he criticized their behaviors. Even when he said, Mamrim hayim yisam Hashem, you were rebellious. But in this case, what was considered inappropriate was he was addressing them as individuals, and when he was calling them out as people, he said, Shimuna hamorim, listen here, O rebels. To call somebody to identify themselves identify someone else rather as a rebel, that was considered inappropriate. And that's why, unfortunately, Moshe could not enter the land according to the Rambam. But really this underscores for us, in terms of us dealing with other people and having interpersonal relationships, sometimes it's important and warranted to deliver some constructive criticism. It's always to address the behaviors and not the person themselves. Have a very good Shabbos.